viewers, welcome into 2021. In this video I'll be doing client-side form validation with JavaScript. So okay, yeah, I have a simple form on my screen right here, and it has the username, the email, the password, and the confirm password. So if I try submitting this form, you can see now the username and the email shows that they have been well filled up, but the password and the confirm password have not been filled up. Therefore, it has this red border and this error sign on it. Why the username and the email shows that they have been properly filled, they have the green and the check mark on them. So let's add a password to this, and the password says that we should add at least 8 characters. Let's add any 8 characters. Let's add a word of at least 8 characters. So let's try to register. You can see the password has been validated properly. So let's make sure this is okay. Let's try and also put in the same password in the confirm password. So let's do that. So I'm gonna put in the same thing in the confirm password. So wow, you can see if I put in something different, boom, it says password are not the same. So I'm going to show you how to do client-side form validation with JavaScript, and we are getting started right now. Okay, here's my HTML. My HTML has already been done. So let me open this with Live Server. Open with Live Server. So Live Server is loading. So let me give this a brief. I'm going to give a brief recap of my HTML. So you can see, so it's open with Live Server already. So let me just minimize the screen so we can work together. Okay, here it is now. You can see this this white bordered div you see here is the container, and inside the container we have the header, which has the create an account, which we have up here. So after that we have the form itself, and each input field in this form has a parent element called form container. Each of them has this form container, the email, the password, and the confirm password. And you can see over on the finished product I showed you, you can see that the icons are inside the input field, but here the icons aren't inside the input field yet. So I'll just come over here. Okay, on the input field, on this one, on the input field parents element is called the form container. So I'm going to add a position of relative to that form container, which is the parent element of this input field of each of them. So I'm going to add a position relative, which is this. After I've done that, I'm going to add position absolute to the font awesome icons, which are these exclamation circle and this check circle. So I'm going to add position absolute to them. So let me remove the comments. After I've done that, I'll make sure they are not visible. That's why I added this hidden, this visibility to hidden, so they don't be visible. I'll make them visible with JavaScript. You understand? So let's save the work. You can see now they have all disappeared and they are okay. Let's see. Let's make it visible so you can see where they are placed. You can see now they are placed inside the input field. Okay, so let's continue this tutorial right now. So let's get down to so I'm gonna make this hidden once again. Yep, so done now. So I'm gonna pick up all my JavaScripts. I want to pick up all the input fields. I'm gonna pick up everything. I'm gonna select input fields. Let's input fields. Let's input fields. Oh, my spelling, Clinton. Let's input fields equal to document get elements by tag name, documents does get elements by tag name inputs. So I just got all my inputs now. So for me to, I have access to all the inputs now. Should this document get elements by tag name input? For me to get access to this first input, I'm gonna say inputs fields square bracket 0. I'm gonna get access to the username field. If I say input field square brackets 1, I'm gonna gain access to the email field. Understand? So after I've done that, now I'm going to also pick up the parent element of this input field, which is the form controls I showed you earlier. You can see each of the input field have a parent element called the form container rather. So I'm going to pick up this form container. I'm going to say let's form container equal to documents docket element by class name, docket elements by class name, form container. Perfect. So I've done that now. So after I've done that, I also need to pick up the form itself, the form. And the form has an ID of my form. You can see it over here. It has an ID of my form. So I'm gonna say, okay, let's say let's form let's form let's form equal to documents get elements by ID my form. Perfect. Now, so I've done that now. So after I've done that, I'm gonna add an event list now to this form. Is sub an event list now submit. So whenever I submit this form, those you can easily. So I'm gonna add a submit event listener to this form. So form.add event listener, form.add event listener, submit. So I'm gonna call this function validate form. Perfect. So I'm gonna say function validates form, function validates form. So I'm gonna prevent the default. I don't want this form to I don't want the browser to reload whenever I click on this button. To prevent, I'm gonna say e.prevent defaults to prevent the reloading of the browser whenever I try to submit this form. E.prevent defaults. Perfect. So I've done that now. So what am I gonna do next now? So I'm gonna cite an if statement. I'm gonna say if input fields. I want to gain access to the username field. I'm gonna say if input field 0, input field 0 is refers to this username input field, right? I'm gonna say if input field 0 dot value, that means the content of the input field, the content. If it is equal to nothing, so we're gonna call a function. If it is equal to nothing, I'm gonna say else. If it is not empty, if it has some content inside, I'm gonna also call a function. So this function, I'm gonna call this function. I'm gonna say check error. I'm gonna call this function error check. Anything you like, you can call yours. Error check. Okay, and this I'm gonna call this one success check. So I'm gonna create this function right away. Success check. Perfect. So let me create this function. Error check gonna be function error check. So I'm going to pick up the parent elements of this input field, of this particular input field. I'm going to pick up the parent element of that particular input field. I'm going to say, so I'm going to give this a parameter. I'm going to say parameter. Going to have a parameter of this and message. You're going to see what it means soon. I'm going to say form container. So I want to pick up the parent element of this exact input field, the username input field. I'm going to say form container. Form container I dot children. So I want to gain access to this particular field from its parent elements. So let's see what is the value. So this is the input field here, and this is the parent element from container. So the first child of this parent elements has an index of 0. While the second child, which is the input field itself, has an index of 1. So I'm gonna say, so come down to JavaScript and say from container dot children1 dot children1 dot style dot no the style children1 dot style dot border color dot border color. equal to red. So let's see how it works. So over here I'm gonna give, so that's it now. So over here, so let's continue. We're gonna also want to make sure this font awesome icon displays this exclamation circle, that red exclamation circle. So from here it has an index of 2. So I'm gonna say come down here and say from container I dot children 2 children 2 that that's the third child of the form container. The style of visibility, the style of visibility should be equal to visible. So after I've done that now, what else should I do? Maybe I need to just, okay, I also need to, you can see from the HTML over here, I also have this error div here that helps to tell you the kind of mistake you are making. So I'm going to make sure this error div is by, with my CSS it is displayed none. So I'm going to make sure it's being displayed. So I'm going to say this error div. So I'm going to pick up this error div. I'm going to say let's error container equal to documents that get element by ID. Let's get element by ID error. It's gonna say error container the style error container style or display should be equal to flex. Yeah, flex. So inside this error container, I want to put in the exact error, the mistake the user is making. Because inner text error container inner text should be equal to message. So come over here now. So this I now, I said I'm going to call the function here. I'm going to give it an argument of 0, and the message should be username is required. I hope this works. So let's come down to our, so let's minimize this and try remove this, try and reload this. Perfect. You can see it's working. You see, if the username is empty, if the username field is empty, you can see that it's worked. You can see that the function the function we called here works. That's nice. So we also need to create the success this success check function in case the username has been filled up. Okay, so in case the input field has been filled up, you understand, I'm gonna say function success check. So for now I'm gonna copy this, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. So for this I'm gonna change this to a green. I want this to be green, and for this I'm gonna say from container children. So I want this check circle to be seen now. Why the exclamation circle will become hidden. So I'm gonna hide this to make sure it's hidden. I've done that. Okay, I also need to remove these two as we don't need them. So also go there and put in 0, which refers to the first input feature dealing on. So we have created this function. So we also need to do some copy and pasting, and we are done. I'm gonna say this for the username. I'm gonna say username field. I'm gonna copy this and do for the email. Just Ctrl C. Say email field. I'm gonna paste. It's gonna say if input fields 1, the value is equal to nothing. I'm gonna change this to 1 also. Change this to 1 and change this to email. I also hope you understand this. If you don't understand, just drop me a comment or love. I will be glad to give you a reply. You understand? So copy this again for the password. Just Ctrl C. Paste here. I'm gonna say password field. Password. I'm gonna say if input 2 dot value is equal to nothing. I'm gonna change this to 2. So I'm gonna say password is required. Password is required. Okay, gonna change this to 2 also. We're gonna say else if. We're gonna add an else if to this. Gonna say else if input field. So let's copy this. Going to see paste here. Yes, if input fields 2 dot value dot length. I mean if the password content dot length is less than 8. We're also gonna call that error function. We're gonna say error check rather error check. I'm gonna say error check 2. I'm gonna say password should be at least 8 characters. Should be at least 8 characters. Perfect. So we've done that now for the password. So which is running the confirm password. I'm gonna say Ctrl C. Come down here and paste that for the confirm password. Confirm password field. Okay, you've done that. Okay, confirm password field. So I'm gonna say if input field 3, the value is equal to nothing. I'm gonna change this to 3, and this 3 gonna say confirm password field is required. Confirm password field. Confirm password is required. So we're gonna also say, else if. I'm gonna remove this. I want to make sure that the confirm password and the password set are the same. I'm gonna say else if. I'm gonna say if this. Just copy this. Ctrl C and paste here. Else if input fields 2 dot value is not equal, if they are not equal, if they are not the same. So we're gonna also call this error. If it's not the same, I'm gonna call this same error. I'm gonna change this to 3 and say password should be the same. Change this and say password should be the same. Oh, so let's see what we've done so far. Let's see. We pray it works. So let's see. Boom. Oh, there's a mistake somewhere. As you can see on the screen, there's an error somewhere. This confirm password should be showing on the last input and not on the first. So I think I know where my error is from. So let's minimize this. So I should have continued by. So I need to say form container. So I should have said form container. I should have picked it the way I picked others. Form container I dot children. So what is this? So from the HTML, we can see from the HTML, the form container has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children. So therefore, this is going to have an index of 4. The error div, the error container, going to have an index of 4. We're going to say form container dot children 4 dot children 4 dot children 4 the style the display equal to flex. So you're gonna remove this. This has been the cause of the problem. So you're gonna also change this. Let's say form container. Copy this also. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and form container the children for the inner text. But inner text should be equal to message. I'm sure this error gonna disappear now. So save and let's see what it disappears for us now. So let's see. Perfect. Now you can see they are all working fine. So let's try further, please. Let's just say Mike. Okay, let's give Mike at gmail.com. Mike at gmail.com. Okay, let's try submitting. there's a mistake somewhere. It isn't. Look with the mistake. You can see whenever we try to to register these people, it shows. Let me remove this again and do what I did earlier. Boom, perfect. So let me say Mike. So you should have added the success. You should have done this input field. You should have done the border of this username to green and change this to the check mark. But it's not working. So what should be the problem? Let's check our console. Oh, it also say I is not defined. So where's the problem? Oh, sorry, I should have placed I also inside. It should have been a parameter to that function. So save your work, come back and try doing it again. Perfect. You can see it's working. Okay, it's working. So we should the check mark isn't showing. What should be the problem? What's the problem? You can say form container the children 3. Okay, there's a mistake here. This should be, so try doing it again. Perfect. It's working fine now. So let's try. Let's say mike@gmail.com. Mike@gmail.com. So let's try submitting. Perfect. So let's put in the password. Let's put in my password. Development. Good. But you shouldn't be showing these fields again. What is wrong with you? Okay. Let's say development. Okay. But we shouldn't be showing this password is required. What the hell went wrong? Okay, nevertheless, it's fine. So put in your password. Let's try. Perfect now. Okay, put in the same password there. Put in the same password, the confirm password. So perfect, but you should remove this confirm password as required. I don't know why it's acting this way. So development. Put in the same password there. So I'll try. Perfect. Now you can see everything is working so fine. You can see our form is working. But if we have been able to validate this form with JavaScript now. So we also need to add, we need to add a pop-up that says account has been created successfully. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Let's add an alert that pops up and says account has been created successfully. So how are we going to do this? We're going to do this with the help of a counter. So come down to your JavaScript here. We're going to declare a variable called counter. Let's say let's counter equal to 0, and we're going to increment counter whenever there's a success, right? Whenever there is a success, I'm going to say we're going to increment counter by 1 wherever there is a success. I'm going to say counter plus plus. Just shift 1, Control C, and look for wherever you see the success, paste it there. You should have 4 of it. Control V, come down again. You should have 1 more. After this, Control V, you should have 1 more. So altogether there are 4 in numbers. The else we have on this we have 4 else statements here, and we added counter to them. So we're gonna increment counter wherever there's a success. So if all the fields have been filled, if all the fields have been properly filled, counter is gonna be equal to 4. And if counter is equal to 4, we're gonna make an alert. So let's do that now. So okay, let's come down here and say gonna say inside the validate form function, gonna say if counter is equal to 4, gonna say alert account successfully created. Account successfully created. Perfect. So let's go back filling this form again. So refresh this page, come back to the form. So let's come back here. Let's say Clinton. Change this to Clinton. So it's Clinton@gmail.com. Clinton@gmail.com. Put in your password. Make sure your password are the same, otherwise there'll be an error. Put in your password. Make sure they're the same. So submit. Perfect. You can see it says account successfully created. So we've come to the end of this tutorial whereby we were able to validate a form with JavaScript. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe to Code with Clinton. And if you gain something, if you gain some value from this video, smash the like button for me and drop me some comments. I really love that. Thank you for watching this video. Have a great time. Bye bye. We'll meet in the next video.